Shu Hui, on the assigned topic, in the northern quarter there is a fair one. She has always been esteemed as one who stands unmatched, even taking for herself the epithet of city toppler. Willow leaves push out between her eyebrows, and peach blossoms come forth upon her cheeks. At a quiver of her wrist, gold bangles resound. When she turns her steps, jade bracelets sing. Her slender waist is just right for a jeweled girdle. Her pink blouse a perfection of seductive weaving. One knows from afar the weight of a single glance from her, and can sense besides the lightness of her dancing waist. So we continue with some other poems by Shu Hui. And this one is also a very representative piece of the type of courtly poetry that was very typical of the Six Dynasties period of the early Tang. First of all, this is a poem on the assigned topic, blah, blah, blah. So poetry on assigned topics, very typical in these courtly environs. And it's part of the game, like the emperor would suggest a topic based on some natural event or maybe on a poem of the past, like in this case. And the courtiers are supposed to compose on the spot a poem on that topic. And this is a very good example of this sort of extempore elaboration on a pretty conventional topic. So, as you have seen from the poem describes an exquisite beauty, the physical beauty and the attractiveness of the woman being further intensified by a luxurious accompaniment of bracelets, bangles, girdles, luxurious clothes, etc. And this sort of poem describing a beauty amidst luxury, very typical, especially of the collection New Poems from a Jade Terrace of the mid-6th century, a type of poetry that was later usually frowned upon by Confucian scholars as debauched and decadent. So this poem is on the topic, on the assigned topic, in the northern quarter there is a fair one. So this requires some explanation. This is a reference to a poem, I think the only surviving one, of a poet from the Han Dynasty, Li Jianyan, Western Han, so around 190 BC. Now, the story is Li Jianyan composed a poem called In the Northern Quarter There is a Fair One, and another, I have also seen it titled as The Fair One, or The Beautiful One, or The Song of the Beauty. And this is a poem. Well, Li Jianyan was a musician, a court musician, and he apparently had composed this poem based on his sister, who was very beautiful, and when the emperor heard of this, he actually got married with this Li Furen. And so the poem, the inspiration goes like this. There is a beauty in the north who stands out among the generations. One look will topple the men of the city. A second look will topple the men of the country. I would rather not know about toppled cities and toppled countries, because a beauty of this caliber may not come around again. So it's a pretty short poem, pentasyllabic, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines. This is long before the time of regulated verse, but in the Han Dynasty it was starting to become common to make pentasyllabic poems. And then this tradition really consolidates at the end of the Han with the Gushi or old Shi type of poem. So as you can see, this is a poem describing a beautiful lady. Not too much detail is given, only the image of the city or kingdom toppling beauty. This is, we mentioned it before in some other poems, this is a very conventional trope in Chinese literature, which comes from historical books and from alleged wives of emperors who were so beautiful that they deluded and their husbands and led to the fall of the kingdom because of bad rulership. So it's an ambivalent image always. It can be used conventionally just to describe a beautiful woman, like in Six Dynasties poetry, and probably in the poem that we've read. But it also has and is used as a reference with a poignancy and a poisonous barb, a slightly misogynistic one, where beautiful women are equated with danger and with dereliction of duty. So that was the poem that inspired this one. You will notice that the poems are pretty different, especially the most obvious thing is that the poem we've read by Xu Hui is it's a bit longer, not much longer. It's also pentasyllabic and it's like 10 lines. So it's only 4 lines longer than the first one. But it's much more descriptive. You get probably a better picture of a refined and beautiful lady from this poem. Yeah, more like the typical Tang Dynasty aristocratic ladies that can be seen in so many murals and paintings from the time. Perhaps the poet is playing with, with expectations of herself. She can imagine herself in this role as the beautiful concubine of the emperor. And okay, let's as usual take a look at the poem couplet by couplet. So first couplet. She has always been esteemed as one who stands unmatched, even taking for herself the epithet of city toppler. So the first couplet, puts us in a situation. There's this beautiful woman. She has always been considered without paragon, and she has taken for herself this epithet of city toppler, which is a conventional epithet for extraordinarily beautiful woman. These two words, stands unmatched, city toppler, actually reference the original poem by Li Jianyan, which we have just read. So they connect very quickly from the first couplet to the poem, which is serving as the topic, as the inspiration for this one. But again, notice the difference. In the other poem, the beautiful lady is described by someone else, the poetic persona, as this kingdom-toppling beauty. But in this poem, the fair one adopts for herself the epithet of city toppler. So she is much more coy, much more forthright, much more active, if you wish, and playing with these. The persona of the woman, which is being talked about in this poem, is much more like, I wouldn't say aggressive, but much more playful and active than the typical beauty, passive beauty, reflected in all her glory. Okay, second couplet. Willow leaves push out between her eyebrows. Peach blossoms come forth upon her cheeks. This feels like a very parallelistic couplet. Willow leaves, peach blossoms push out, come forth between her eyebrows upon her cheeks. So these are elements of nature that beautify her, like her forehead, her eyebrows are like willow leaves, her peaches are like peach blossoms, but this also reflects the fashions of the Tang. I mean, in the Tang, it was very typical for court ladies to paint the space between their eyebrows with some light green cosmetic applications that resemble a fleur de lis, and you can see this in the murals, and the cheeks with rouge. So we have this makeup that the lady has put on herself, on those willow leaves and those peach blossoms, which make her even more beautiful. The next couplets, just like this one, focuses on her face and on the makeup on her face, the artificial adornments that enhance an already considerably powerful beauty. The next couplets are going to continue with this Petrarchan-like dissection of the female body, while connecting the different parts with luxurious materials that enhance their likability. So third couplet. At a quiver of her wrist, gold bangles resound. When she turns her steps, jade bracelets sing. So what we get is oral associations. So sounds, nice sounds that are associated with luxurious objects, which she is wearing in her hands and in her feet, gold bangles, jade bracelets, and while she's moving graciously or maybe beginning to dance, you can enjoy not only the beauty of the sight and of the show, but the loveliness of the sound of these luxurious materials, resounding. Next couplet. Her slender waist is just right for a jeweled girdle. Her pink blouse, a perfection of seductive weaving. So two objects that are now associated. We're moving down, this is below the arms, but also moving up because this is above the legs. So in the middle realm, you have like a jeweled girdle around her waist, and you have a pink blouse, which is perfect, a perfection of seductive weaving, a wonderful piece of handicraft. And again, it enhances the natural beauty of the body, the slender waist, the overall body of the lady who is enwrapped by the blouse and encircled by the girdle. Finally, last couplet, which is number 5. This synthesizes. We've seen there's this lady, she's considered beautiful. We've seen that her cheeks and face, lovely. We've seen that she's wearing gold bangles, and jade bracelets. They all tingle around when she moves, when she dances. We've seen she's wearing a most beautiful blouse and a lovely girdle, all of which enhance her natural, already existing attributes. But all this, crystallizes in the last image, which, just summarizes the point that this lady is outrageously attractive. One knows, from afar, the weight of a single glance from her, and can sense, besides, the lightness of her dancing waist. So this lady, even when seen from afar, this is a real kingdom-toppling beauty. So, yeah, altogether, pretty lovely piece of craftsmanship, and as I said, pretty representative of this sort of poetry that is more typical of the early Tang and of the 6 dynasties.